Hi, I'm Ben Pearson. I'm the Program Director at Greenpeace Australia Pacific. We're here at Governor Macquarie Tower, where the state government's ministers have their offices, to protest against the clearing of the Leard State Forest to build the Maules Creek coal mine. The clearing was not meant to happen during the winter months when animals hibernate, but the state government allowed Whitehaven Coal to do exactly that, to clear at a time when vulnerable threatened species are asleep, and in doing so have essentially initiated the winter slaughter. So we're here today to call on Ministers Goward and Stokes to stop that clearing and ultimately to reject the Maules Creek coal mine. We don't need more coal mines in New South Wales. They damage our land, they damage our water, they ruin communities, and they fuel climate change, our greatest threat. My name is Ben Pearson. I'm from Greenpeace. I want to start by thanking you so much for coming here today and demonstrating to the state government, our state government, the depth of community outrage about the winter slaughter currently happening in the Leard State Forest. It's absolutely outrageous what's going on up there. At an absolute minimum, coal companies are not meant to clear forest in the winter because that is when animals hibernate. But, as is so often the case, when this coal company, Whitehaven Coal, made it clear that for their profits they needed to clear in the winter, they were given that approval by this state government, and shame on them for doing that. Absolute shame. A week ago, the bulldozers went in. The clearing started. The management plan included laughable conditions such as you can only push over trees in which there are animals if you do it gently. So the slaughter of native animals is okay as long as it's gentle, is the message we're getting there. It's completely unacceptable what's happening up there. But thankfully for the animals up there, thankfully for future generations who have to live on this planet, the community rose up and stood up to the bulldozers, stood up to Whitehaven Coal, and tried to protect that forest where the state government refused to do so. Members of the community, members of so many of the groups that are here today, have been in the trees, they've been on the ground, they've been locking onto the machinery, and they have been heroes, absolute heroes over the last week. Let's give them a round of applause. But let's be clear. There's only so much flesh can do against steel. There's only so many bulldozers that we can stop, and there's only a limited amount of time that we can stop them. The people who can stop the winter slaughter continuing, the people who can protect the remnants of the Leard State Forest, work in this building. Minister Pru Goward, Minister Rob Stokes, and we are here today with a petition signed by 30,000 people, 23,000 people in just 2 days to call on them to use their powers to stop the clearing of Leard Forest. But ultimately, we need to stop Maules Creek coal mine, and we will continue that fight. So thank you for coming today. I'm going to hand over to our first speaker, Phil Leard. Phil's family has lived in the area around the Maules Creek mine for 5 generations. Phil now works for Lock the Gate and has been involved in this campaign from the beginning. So let me hand you over to a true Australian hero, Phil Leard.
Good day everyone, can you hear me? All right, well I'd just like to say firstly, as a person from Maules Creek, I can't believe the support that we've had over the years and over the last few months in particular. And I'd really like to thank everyone for coming here today, and I'd like to thank particularly Greenpeace and some of the big national environmental groups who've come and joined our tiny little community to take on this coal company. It's something that you don't see every day, and this campaign goes beyond just a small issue around a local farm. It's a big issue. It's about forests, it's about water, it's about democracy, it's about corruption, it's about our planet. This has got to be a big, big issue.
It's unsustainable!
And that's why we've got such a broad coalition of people that have just joined the campaign, and they've done extraordinary things. One of the things that we say at Lock the Gate is find your thing, and then when you find it, do it. And we've seen people up in nets witnessing what's going on. We've seen people stopping bulldozers, we've seen people running raffles, we've seen people hosting camps. It's amazing what people can do when they use their ingenuity. So thank you for everyone who's lent their shoulder to the wheel.
Bring on the people power!
So We all know that this project is going to have a massive impact on the biodiversity of the Leard State Forest. There'll be 2,000 hectares of land cleared. There'll be 5 to 10 metres of water drawdown, which will personally affect my farm. And there will be
Bloody great hole!
a bloody great hole that'll be there for thousands and thousands of years, collecting water and decimating the groundwater and anything that drinks out of that groundwater. We also know that the company itself has been, strange in the way it's operated. We've seen the latest coal spy issue, and it hasn't been sheeted directly back to Whitehaven, but it certainly is part of the mix. We've seen allegations of false and misleading information. We've seen influence peddling. We've seen donations and potential corruption. This project really embodies everything that's wrong with mine planning in New South Wales. When you go out there and you sort of see that the actual roads are locked down by the police. These roads are locked down by the police, and the police are doing their job as they are told to do. But when it stops people from doing their daily and their weekly and their yearly life, such as going to church, operating their business, people wonder who is running this country, who is running this state.
Who is? Coal company. Money.
And I think it's time for the police too to have a think about what it is that they're doing. And I ask them, stand down, stand down.
Join the people. Yeah.
What I have here in my hand is new legal opinion, and what it says is that the Director General actually exceeded their powers when they approved the changes to the Biodiversity Management Plan.
Shame! Shame! Criminal shame!
They've exceeded their powers according to this legal opinion, and we're now turning that legal opinion into legal advice. This is not the time for us to stop pushing. This is not the time for us to stop pushing. The people that were in those nets, the people that watched what was going on and bore witness to the way that that land was cleared, there was no gentle bulldozing, there was no intensive searches, no creature relocations. That evidence that those people gathered, and Freya Harvey, who's going to speak in a minute, was one of those people, that will come out. We will have our day. And I'd like to say to everyone that's here today, thank you for coming. Keep doing what you're doing. Find your thing. And then once you have found your thing, keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I'm going to hand over now to Penny Sharp, who is representing the State Labor Opposition. Thank you, Penny.
A bit shorter. Thanks very much. I'd like to just begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'd also like to take the opportunity to pay my respects to photographer Tom Jefferson, who recently lost his life, and pay my respects to the people from Greenpeace, for whom he told many stories through his wonderful photographs, and I just wanted to acknowledge his loss here today. I stand here today representing Luke Foley as the Shadow Minister for I'm the Shadow Minister for Transport, representing Luke Foley, and I want to stand with everyone here today and thank them very much for coming. We too join with you to call for a halt for the winter clearing in the Leard Forest. We do not believe it is necessary, and we believe that the government needs to reverse their decision where they have allowed this to happen. Rob Stokes as the Environment Minister, Pru Goward as the Planning Minister, can stop the clearing now. They have to demand that Whitehaven stick by what they committed to, which was to not clear during winter, and they need to ensure that the animals of the Leard Forest are protected during their hibernation period, and that they are given the best chance of survival into the future. Clearing now is simply a death sentence for the animals of the forest. Thanks.
Stop clearing now! Stop clearing now! Stop clearing now!
for some more speakers, but do keep up the good voice and the energy. I'm going to hand over now to Maureen Faruqi from the Greens.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on and pay my respects to the elders past and present. As you know, this land always has been and always will be Aboriginal land.
Yes.
Congratulations to those amazing activists for their ongoing courage in standing up for our environment. They are indeed our heroes. The Greens stand with you shoulder to shoulder in stopping the massively destructive Whitehaven Maules Creek coal mine, and we will continue to do so. The Maules Creek coal mine will dig up and ship out millions of tons of coals every year, adding to devastating climate change as well as destroying cultural heritage and our biodiversity. Biodiversity is the lifeblood of every living thing on our earth. And yet, this government has approved the clearing of thousands of hectares of Leard forest. Shame.
Stop clearing now! Stop clearing now!
And we all know that the biodiversity areas set aside as offsets are completely inadequate. The truth of the matter is that you can't cut down an ecosystem and then expect to replace it by buying a piece of land somewhere else. It just doesn't work that way. Biodiversity is not a commodity to be traded in a market-based system. We have to protect our biodiversity, our native animals, and its habitat from irreversible damage. On top of all of this, Whitehaven has now been given permission, and they're already doing so. They've gone in with their bulldozers and their chainsaws when our native habitat and wildlife are most vulnerable in winter months. This is completely outrageous, cruel, unacceptable, and really, there was no need for the government to do this. The government must stop this attack on our native animals and their habitat. Just 2 weeks ago, on International Day of Biodiversity, I wrote to the Minister for Environment, urging him to stop these bulldozers and to commit to preserving our biodiversity. Today, on the eve of World Environment Day, we all stand together, giving a very loud and clear message to this government and its ministers. They must listen to the community, and they must stop this onslaught on our environment. Protection of our biodiversity and our environment must always take priority on kowtowing to big coal.
Ecologically sustainable development.
Just earlier this year, I had the absolute privilege of spending a couple of days at the Leard Forest Camp, and I came back to Sydney full of hope and inspiration. And today, again, with all of us together, that hope is completely amplified. We have to stop this onslaught on our environment. In fact, we must. We must really convince this government and our communities that we have to end our dependence on fossil fuels and move and transform to 100% renewables. We must also never forget that the power of the people is always much greater than those in power. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. I'd now like to ask Thea Olrod to speak from the Australian Religious Response to Climate Change. Thea, and in doing so, just say that the involvement of people of faith in this campaign has been something that's been immensely inspiring and powerful. So thank you so much for the work that you've done.
Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land. It's my firm belief that God did not give us this beautiful world for us to trash it. And at the front line of this trashing are coal companies like Whitehaven Coal, aided and abetted by governments, including the New South Wales government. Governments are here to protect the common good, to protect ecological values, to protect future generations from the destructive impacts of coal on our climate, to protect the land of the Gomeroi people. 7 of their 11 sacred sites in the Leard Forest has been destroyed. This is just not acceptable. These are things that we hold dear as human beings. Instead, they're protecting people who are only in it for profits, as greedy people. They have, they're supporting the wrong side. It's the more immoral people that they're supporting, rather than the people who are actually protecting really important values that the rest of us hold dear. They're our heroes, as everybody's been saying. They've been making a lot of sacrifices just to be there, paying fines, putting their lives on hold, not because they're thrill seekers, but because they are such upright, moral people. And we in various religions are giving them our full support.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to ask Freya Harvey, one of the first climbers in the Greenpeace actions that happened over the last week, to come forward and give you a bit of an eyewitness account of what it looks like to gently bulldoze a forest.
Hey guys, it's great to see such a good turnout here. Thanks everyone so much for coming.
No problem. No problem.
So over the weekend I spent about 2 nights and 3 days suspended in the treetops of the Leard State Forest. Along with 4 lovely gentlemen who were there occupying it with me. Sorry.
Good work.
It was cold, it was uncomfortable, it was pretty devastating to see the bulldozers working around us and certainly not gently pushing over the trees. There were no ecologists looking in the hollows, searching for animals that were losing their homes while hibernating. I guess there was not one moment for any of us, as far as I know, that we regretted being there. Although seeing the destruction was devastating, for the time that we were there, we protected that area of forest, and the longer we were there, the more attention we drew to it.
Good work. Good work.
I guess I'd also like to say I've spent the last 4 months living out at the Leard blockade on Cliff's farm with the rest of the people fighting for this country. I've never been a part of such a diverse range of people that are so passionate and so welcoming, so committed, so dedicated to protecting this area of our country and this important forest. There's religious leaders, there's lawyers, there's doctors, there's choirs, there's mothers and sons, there's retired couples on their anniversary. You know, there's all sorts of people out there fighting with the community. And if you haven't been out there, please do. I can't right now, my bail restrictions say I can't, but I urge everyone who hasn't been able to get out there to do it as soon as possible. The forest is falling now, and we need to get out there. So Frontline Action, frontlineaction.org is the website to go to. It'll tell you how to get there, any other information you need to know. Check it out. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Freya. Thank you so much for everything you've done. I'm going to hand over now to Michael Poland from Get Up. I want to say firstly thank you so much to Get Up for helping to build this rally and for all the excellent work that you do across a range of issues. And also to Michael. Michael was arrested 1 month ago locking onto a drilling rig at the Leard State Forest. So Michael, come up to the microphone.
Thanks, Ben. A month ago, I scaled the Whitehaven drilling rig at the Moles Creek coal mine, halting their destruction for 9 hours. Now, just hours before reaching the ugly mine site, I was crawling through beautiful boxgum forest under a chilling full moon through the night, and I whispered to a friend standing next to me from the blockade, "Winter is coming." It was a bit of a joke from a TV series some of you may know about. But now, a month later, I can no longer say the same because winter is here. As we stand here today, right this very second, bulldozers are revving, trees are falling, drills are running, spies are infiltrating, and corruption is flowing like never before. Whitehaven are clearing the Leard forest tree by tree by tree. Now they claim that they can just offset this forest, plant another bunch of trees and poof, all the problems will be gone. But let me tell you one thing that is crystal clear. This coal mine and the Leard State Forest cannot coexist. If destroyed, ancient boxgum forests cannot be replaced. If destroyed, threatened species cannot be replaced. And the culture of the Gomeroi people that existed long before Whitehaven was even a concept on a corporate whiteboard cannot be replaced. This destruction makes me sick to my core. To see so many beautiful and pristine things flattened and shredded as Whitehaven's machines roll over them and rip them part by piece by piece. It's disgusting. But it gets infinitely worse when you realise that this destruction is happening not just in and of itself, but to extract dirty coal from the earth. Fossil fuels that will then be burnt and cough harmful emissions into our atmosphere. This will cause even greater devastation to forest species, indigenous populations, farms, water, and our very own health, not just for people at Maules Creek, but all around the world. And that, my friends, is why a month ago, I scaled a Whitehaven drilling rig, halting the destruction that I could not sit by and watch any longer. This coal mine is nothing but beautiful, but it sure has created one hell of a beautiful movement. Never before have I seen such a powerful bond between such a diverse mix of people. At the camp you'll see a conservative farmer with an akubra holding hands and linking arms in action with a Greenpeace climber. You'll have people from all across the political spectrum who have differing views on pretty much every issue coming together because they do not want this mine to go ahead. And even myself, I find myself agreeing with Alan Jones when he says this Maules Creek coal mine should not go ahead. So it was the disgusting destruction that drove me to climb the drilling rig in the first place. But it is this beautiful movement which is why I'm incredibly excited about returning to the blockade this weekend. I'll be joining 100 inspiring individuals who deserve more praise than the words I can think of, because day after day they are organising, scouting, staying up all night, sitting up in trees, writing, meeting, planning and most importantly taking non-violent direct action to delay this project and stop the bulldozers. So my challenge, I have two challenges that I want to leave you with. The first challenge is for you. I want you to join me at the blockade. Come to the forest, come to Maules Creek. Come with me this weekend or come with me another weekend, but come with me and see what is happening up there and see this inspiring movement that has been built. And my second challenge is not to you, it is to the people inside. Pru Goward and Rob Stokes, if you can hear this, if you can hear my words and if you can hear our message, listen. Repeat after me. The bulldozers must stop.
The bulldozers must stop.
The destruction must end.
The destruction must end.
Stop the bulldozers.
Stop the bulldozers.
End the destruction. We will not let you obliterate this forest. We will not let you devastate our land. We will not let you damage our water. And we will not let you pollute our future. And every day that you do, our movement will become stronger. It will become more beautiful and more diverse, and we will stop this coal mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much to NCC for their role in helping to build what has been an absolutely fantastic rally today. Here's Kate.
I'm fairly short, so I'll just go ahead and hold the microphone. Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming out. I have the privilege and the daunting having to follow Michael in that amazing speech that he just gave. And I know that there's been a number of people here that have spoken about Leard State Forest and all the wonderful and amazing things that are in that forest and surrounding that forest and the reason that we should be protecting it. So I just want to talk a little bit about my experience in Leard State Forest. A couple of years ago, the Nature Conservation Council pulled together a report highlighting 7 iconic places, beautiful natural places across our state that are under serious, imminent threat from mining and coal seam gas. And Leard State Forest is clearly at the top of that list, particularly because of the atrocities of what's happening with the winter clearing. For anyone that hasn't been able to enjoy Leard State Forest, first and foremost, and see it on the ground, it is a beautiful place. It is a beautiful place from the sky, it is a beautiful place when you're on the ground. But some of the most amazing things about the forest are the things that you can't see when you're there. It is home to 34 threatened species, bats, birds, mammals that require the hollow-bearing trees that only live in some of the remnant white boxgum woodland habitat that makes up Leard State Forest. It is a beautiful place. The other thing that you often can't see is some of the Aboriginal heritage sites that are there in the forest. The last time I was up there, when I got to visit the area and I got to go to the camp and I got to see the amazing people that had built a movement and are standing on the front lines saying enough is enough. There are some places that the mining and gas companies should not be allowed to go, and Leard State Forest is one of those places. Absolutely. Enough is enough. It's enough. I had the unfortunate experience of having to experience firsthand the pain on the faces of the traditional owners in that area when they heard that some of their traditional sites had been destroyed already by Whitehaven Coal. Once again, I have to say, there are places that the mining and gas companies should not be allowed to go. And so that's why the Nature Conservation Council has joined with the Lock the Gate Alliance and 75 other community groups in the lead up to the 2015 state election in the Our Land, Our Water, Our Future campaign. I see some people here representing that campaign. Yeah, let's give it a cheer. Our land, our water, our future. This is the campaign. Future, exactly. We are joining together with all the amazing people that are standing here today, the people that are on the ground at the blockade in the Leard State Forest, the people that are on the ground at the Pilliga, the people in the cities that care about this issue and want to protect the beauty of our state for future generations. And so I'm here to say and to put the challenge to the new Baird government, to the new Environment Minister Stokes, and to the new Planning Minister Goward. Enough is enough. We have to put the environment and communities above the mining industry profits. And there are places like our productive agricultural lands, our drinking water catchments, and our beautiful natural areas like Leard State Forest that the mining companies should not be allowed to go. And so we are calling on them, first and foremost, to stop the winter clearing. There's absolutely no place for that happening in Leard State Forest with the number of threatened species that it's currently impacting. And next, in the lead up to the election, we want to see binding policies passed that protect our land, water, and future for future generations. So thank you so much for coming out today. Let's give it a cheer. Our land, our water, our future. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Thank you, comrade. That's the end of our speakers today. I do want, though, to do a quick shout out to 2 groups that didn't speak today but certainly helped make this day a success, and that is the Wilderness Society and 350.org. So thank you so much for the work they've done. We're going to wrap up this rally now. What I am going to do, and I'll show you this. 2 days ago, we launched a petition to stop the winter slaughter. And in only 2 days, we've got 30,000 signatures. Now that shows the depth of community concern. The fact that hundreds of people have travelled to Maules Creek to try to stop that mine shows the depths of community concern. We've had doctors, we've had religious leaders, we've had students, activists, local community members, people from all walks of life going up there because they're sick of the coal industry and the damage that it does. I now am going to go into GMT and present this petition to Ministers Goward and Stokes to the extent that I'm able, and call on them to stop the winter slaughter, call on them to call a halt to the carnage that's going up in that part of the state. I will propose, however, that let's end this rally with Michael from Get Up coming back and leading us once more in those chants that he led us in before. Michael?
Just quickly before I do, I want to say and get a huge round of applause for Greenpeace and all the work they put in today, especially Ben. Thank you. All right, so Ben's about to go in. Let's give him a bit of energy as he does and make sure that they're listening. All right, ready? Stop the bulldozers!
Stop the bulldozers!
End the destruction!
End the destruction!
Stop the bulldozers!
Stop the bulldozers!
End the destruction!
End the destruction!
Stop the bulldozers!
Stop the bulldozers!
End the destruction!
End the destruction!
Stop the bulldozers!
Stop the bulldozers!
I can't hear you. End the destruction!
End the destruction!
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, that's it for today. I'll go in and present this petition. Thank you so much for coming down in this lunchtime. All I ask is this: go back, tell your family and friends about today, about how empowering it was, about the movement that we're building, about how important the work is that we're doing. Please make sure, as many speakers have said, that you encourage your family, your networks, your community to help us in this iconic battle to stop the Maules Creek coal mine. If that's signing a petition online, if that's organising a car to take people up to the blockade, anything you can do. Make sure your local MP knows how concerned you are. Do anything you can think of to raise awareness of the issue and to help us stop Whitehaven Coal. This is a battle for the future. Let's be really clear about that. It's a battle for the future. And when I look around today, I see the only people who are going to make sure that we win that battle. So thank you so much for coming today. I'll see you up at the blockade.